What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all having a great day, and welcome back to some more jzx100 Mark II Tour V content. I'm incredibly stoked to do this install today. If you saw the last video, I told you that I kind of full sent almost $2,500 on suspension for the Mark II. When I told myself I was at a good point, I was content for where I'm at, I should definitely start working on the R32 Skylines RB25 Series 2 build, but I went ahead and just, again, full sent some suspension parts from Serial 9 on the Black Friday special. So today we will be installing some front drop knuckles, extended lower control arms, and what I have coming in hopefully early this upcoming week will be the full rear suspension for the Mark II, including traction arm, camber arms, toe arms, solid diff bushings, and solid subframe bushings. First off, just want to give a huge shout out to Serial 9 for the excellent customer service. Sent them an email regarding anything additional I may need after purchasing this kit, and they got back to me with a very detailed response. Also, in terms of shipping, they are located in Canada, and I'm here in Arizona, and literally maybe like a week and a day after purchasing the product, it was right at my door. So again, a huge shout out to Serial 9 for just overall being awesome. So what we have here is the AK-49 drift knuckle angle kit, bolt-on, probably the best in the game, and with the proper alignment and wheel specs you can get an additional 49 degrees of angle. This kit also offers an additional 35 millimeters of roll center adjustment, thus lowering your car an additional 35 millimeters, so we will have to raise the car quite a bit just to, I would say, balance it out from where my Mark II currently sits now, but this will also offer better steering response and driver feel. What we have here in the center, again, are 25 millimeter extended lower control arms. These should fit. I just went with a normal rubber bushing. The polyurethane bushings I wanted to put on these LCAs are currently out of stock, so in time we'll swap out to polyurethane. So again, 25 millimeter extended lower control arms, and if you're going this route with the extended LCAs, you are going to want to run 2nd gen GS Lexus 300 outer tie rods. They are a little bit longer, so you will get more adjustment. And to get the absolute most out of this angle kit, you are going to want to install your left outer tie rod on the right side of the car and your right outer tie rod on the left side of the car. So before I throw on the angle kit, let's see what max angle is on the right. Alright, so I got the Mark II on jack stands, and just remember this is all new to me in terms of suspension for the X100, so definitely gonna have to pop out the coilover because it is connected to this cradle here, which is connected to the lower control arm. We have 2 bolts to the tension rod here. We have our outer tie rod connected to the knuckle. We have 1, 2 bolts to the knuckle, and then of course this ball joint here that connects the knuckle to the lower control arm, and that looks to be it. So 2 bolts, bolt to the coilover. Oh yeah, the sway bar bolt here. There's a bolt on top of this cradle, if you can see right over here. And then the bolts to the knuckle, and everything should drop out. But again, since this car is 25 years old, I'm gonna go ahead and let this soak both sides in PB Blaster for a good hour or two. So real quick, just want to do a comparison between the OEM LCA and the extended LCA. So kind of lined up there. Yeah, that's quite a bit more track width, and there's a lot of negative camber. We will be gaining. My overall goal, honestly, for camber up here for daily driver is -5, maybe -6 degrees. But with the proper toe alignment, we should be good on tires, but yeah, that is quite a bit. Making some solid progress so far. Probably wondering why I have the caliper removed. One, it is to have easier access to remove this OEM JZX outer tie rod. Since I will be utilizing the stock knuckle here, I don't want to damage it and preserve it to the best of my abilities, and so I can have room to utilize this fancy Amazon ball joint mover tool I have here. And also on my caliper, I'm going to be re-greasing the guide pins. So in terms of nut and bolt size, on the chassis, the 2 bolts that go to the tension rod are going to be 17. The nut on the sway bar end link is going to be a 17. 17 on the coil body here, and 17 on the 2 bolts that hold the knuckle assembly up. So we're gonna shoot this guy out and then start working my way, taking out the coilover and reinstalling all the goodies. Okay, so running into my first minor inconvenience. That is why I'm here recording myself doing this, gaining knowledge from friends and the Facebook forums to, again, present knowledge so when you take on this particular job, you'll be more prepared than I am. So, unfortunately, my lower ball joint you see here is busted. It shouldn't move like this while the thread here is sitting stationary, and it is also frozen into the lower ball joint. From my knowledge that I just obtained, I just remembered that IS300 and X100 chassis, even the X90s, share very similar front suspension, ball joints, tension rods, end links, I believe upper arms as well, to a degree. So we can order new lower ball joints stateside, and luckily my best friend Chris is a manager at O'Reilly, so we can go ahead and bug him, get some brand new lower ball joints, which I much rather do because I'm very meticulous on how I build my cars, especially the front suspension, rather have everything brand new. And also too, I forgot, or it dawned on me, that we need to cut the OEM placement of the tie rod when we fit on the knuckle. I'm gonna show you real quick. So here we have the drift knuckle. Goes in like so. As you can see, we're gonna have to cut excess amounts, which I'll show you the best way to do it once we get the new knuckles, because we'll also be relocating the tie rod here, hence why you need longer outer tie rods. So once we order the new lowers, we can just go ahead and bolt them right onto the new extended lowers with the new tie rods. And also here's a quick comparison to OEM and the jzx100, if it'll focus. So sort of at a stopping point tonight, but in the meantime, still going to continue to bang this out. I'm just going to remove the entire front suspension, driver, and passenger side. So once we get the new parts in, we'll be ready to go. And we are back. A huge shout out to my boy Chris for hooking me up with a set of new IS300 lower ball joints. And again, to those of you who are new to the X90, X100 scene, IS300 is very compatible with most of our suspension, and I'll emphasize most, but definitely do your research. I just went with a mid-tier lower ball joint because we'll be lobbing off this section where the OE outer tie rod would go, so we can mount our new AK-49 drift knuckles and relocate the outer tie rod. If you can kind of see there, see the vision. So pretty much just where it starts to bend up, slice it off, throw some paint on it. Even though this is cast, I don't think it'll rust, but just some precautionary methods. Many minutes later, got the first ball joint cut and rounded out. Shaved a good $15 to $20 of material out. You got the drift knuckle here, sits like so, and there's your new location for your outer tie rod. So you do have to shave off quite a bit of material, just so once you put your lower ball joint in, you have adequate clearance so the rubber doesn't hit against the lower ball joint and potentially tear it, releasing all that grease. So driver side done. Now I have to do the same thing on the passenger side, cut a little bit more, round it out, and then we can begin reinstalling all of our fancy parts. Just about 90% done with the passenger side, and I can already tell how much more angle we are getting from the drift knuckle. So my advice for you when you're reinstalling everything, if you're doing this exact kit how I am, first of course install your low control arm without the cradle, and then install your tension rods, because these have to be threaded in like precisely or it's just a pain in the butt to work with. Get your tension rod bolts like halfway in, then install the cradle, then the backing screw, and then your end link, and then your coilover. Got the drift knuckle installed. Looks great, just have to put the castle nut on the lower ball joint. But looks good. I'm really happy with how everything fits up And like I just mentioned, you can already tell how much more angle we are getting. So before I bolt in the outer tie rod, I want to knock out the driver's side and then center the steering rack so we have equal adjustment left and right. Install everything, put the rotors on. I'll go ahead and grease on my guide pins, throw the Mark II back on the ground after we torqued everything down, and see where she sits, and then I'll adjust the coilovers accordingly. But so far so good. I want to say almost a flawless install. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark II is near completion of 100% of all the bolts in, 99% of them torqued down to spec. I'll go ahead and leave the torque specs in the description below, or I'll post a link on where I found the IS300 front suspension torque specs. Mind you, they're all Newton meters, but I'll do the conversion for you just in the description below. But right off the bat, I can already tell my alignment is just messed up, but we definitely have extended track width. This side, passenger side, is definitely towed out quite a bit, but it looks good. There's more poke, which I like. And then on the driver's side, yeah, I think toe's more even on this side, or maybe just be a little bit towed in, but it's all gonna change once, again, I get it aligned. But everything's looking good. I don't plan on driving this car until I get my rear suspension in and bolt that all up and get it aligned for the third time, but everything is looking good. Right now I'm gonna go ahead and test leading left and leading right angle. Right off the riff, at full lock, leading right, a significant amount of angle has been achieved, and this is just a night and day difference from just the drift knuckles. I love this so much. This makes me happy. So I don't know the offset of these wheels, but I do know that they are 17 by 7.5. They are Vesta wheels, some brand off of Ray's. In terms of obstructions, looks like we are rubbing on the tension rod. In terms of wheel clearance to the spindle, we are good, but to combat all this, I'll just run like a 10 or 15 mil spacer if need be. I'm just curious to know if there's like any, I can run some sort of bump stock, but definitely a 10 or 15 mil spacer will do justice. And then on the passenger side, wow, that is crazy. And when we're full lock, no obstruction, so that makes me happy too. All right, yeah, nothing looks like it's touching or binding. Brake line's good, ABS line is good, and love that. So now let's go test leading left. Now here is leading left at full lock. Again, no obstructions, nothing is binding, all the brake lines and ABS lines are good. Just a tire rubbing on the X100 tension rod, which again, to combat that, 10-15 mil spacer. Huge shout out to 09 for such great quality parts. And another bonus is my coilover is right here with easy adjustments. God bless, that is really beneficial. So now we'll even it out, put the car on the ground, see where the front end sits, and we'll adjust accordingly. Mark II is back on the ground and it looks amazing at its current height. Definitely need different coilovers so I can throw the rear on the ground, but looks amazing. Let's go ahead and do our test. So definitely passenger side is towed out pretty bad, but it's looking good. I definitely see that extended track width. Like I mentioned, camber is where it's at. Driver's side is looking good, definitely more towed in opposed to the passenger side, which means we'll have more clearance to the guard here. Sweet. So now what I'm going to do is measure the coilovers again, match them to this side, turn the car on, left, right, full lock, and make sure we have no obstructions, no rubbing. I'm pretty sure we're gonna rub eventually, but once I get new wheels, we'll dial in the fitment a little better, but really content with how this all went down. Mark II was looking really nice. Kind of finalized a little bit of the alignment, but so far so good. Has a much more aggressive front end now, or front facing. Definitely still need to work on the toe of the passenger side, but so far so good. Just need a wider wheel setup and Mark II will be near perfect until I purchase the BN Sports Kit. One last look of the Mark II before I go dark again for 2 weeks, because next week is already Christmas week and I'm going to be incredibly busy with work. I ran ahead and readjusted the toe angle on the passenger side. Everything is as good as it could be. I'm not going to go over and kill myself doing it because we still have the rear end to work on, and that's going to throw off the entire car. So hopefully my rear arms and bushings come sometime next week. All right, so just want to say thank you everybody for making it to the end of the video. I truly appreciate all your continued love and support, and if you have any questions regarding this bolt-on drift knuckle kit, be sure to reach out to me in the comments below via YouTube and or Instagram. Probably the best place to contact me. What we have next honestly is just the rear end, sway bars front and rear, strut bars front and rear, adjustable end links, and I might pull the trigger tonight on some coilovers, whatever I can get in a matter of 2 weeks, because we're so close to having the Mark II, like almost exactly where I want it. And in terms of wheels, I'm just going to continue to run these Vesta wheels for the time being, because I really don't want to steal the ones off the Skyline, because I think running 18s on this stock Toyota Aero just looks pretty goofy, and I think the Mark II with this Aero kit definitely needs 17s with a meaty tire setup. But other than that, guys, just want to say thank you so much for the continued love and support. And if you're new to the channel too and want to hit the subscribe button, that would help me out immensely. And remember, aim high, drive low. I'll catch you next video. If I don't see you, Merry Christmas. Take care.